This was the first story I read this morning, and it was quite devastating. I think it sort of reinforces the idea of what we've all sort of suspected, which is that these companies found a formula to sort of get eyeballs and make money, but that formula sort of came with some pretty significant baggage.
Yeah, this has been a critique of YouTube and certainly echoed in critiques of Facebook. What I found in talking to people that worked at the company was that there were the similar critiques inside. They were raising alarms about the recommendation engine that was sending people down these sort of rabbit holes of conspiracy theories, the radical content that the site was disseminating. And typically when people brought these up, the responses was that YouTube was very protective historically as a platform for free speech. And to your point, they had this long-term goal about engagement. So recently they've sort of tried to tweak that. They're talking about now what the term is responsible growth. They've not really shared exactly what those metrics look like. So it's a real inflection point for this business, which in the past 2 years suffered through advertiser boycotts, ongoing criticism from both the right and political left.
So is it just this cult of the algorithm, essentially, that's really hard for executives to shake, that say, look, if people are watching it, if people are commenting on it, or people are engaging with it, it should be promoted, period. And that idea is just so entrenched that the idea that there should be some sort of subjective view, maybe a politically driven view, just should not enter the picture?
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is owned by Google and has been for the past 14 years. It's 13 years. Google's an engineering-driven company. They tend to, the leaderships are often described as engineers, and so they think about these things as technical problems. And the mere fact that they had, they hit this goal in 2016, 1 billion hours of watch time a day, was just a few years before that kind of inconceivable. And they'll typically turn to the fact that the scale, how many 400 plus hours of video footage uploaded every day, or it's unbelievably intense even for the world's best AI. I think this combined with that, especially in the past couple of years where you've seen the president and the Republican Party kind of accuse YouTube and social media companies of being anti-conservative, there's this very, very intense concern about taking what is seen as editorial stances.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, they did come back and respond to your story saying, look, at the moment, responsibility remains our #1 priority. But really, how bad does this have to get for Susan Wojcicki and the likes to come out and start talking about this more openly? Because you asked them to talk to you about the story and they didn't. And we've had, as you say, internal people who used to work there critiquing it, saying that, this is bad virality and it's an addiction engine. What more has to happen? How many boycotts do we need until they start to speak out really strongly about it in the way that we're starting to see Facebook have to in terms of their own publicity nightmare?
So certainly we're seeing a stronger drumbeat in Washington around kids content, and that's an issue where YouTube has faced a lot more scrutiny. One of the benefits that the company has is, unlike Facebook, they are tucked into Google's advertising, so Google doesn't break out YouTube sales. So we, the shareholders, the public, have no visibility into their business. That's something that investors have been pushing for years. It's unclear if that's going to change, but certainly both on the business side, and then now you're seeing this stronger push in Silicon Valley for algorithmic transparency. So it's sort of a black box how these platforms operate, and there's a rising chorus about opening up that box.